Hey YouTube, it's September 14th, September 14th of 2021, and it took me a couple of days. I heard about President Biden's edict, his announcement of his presidential mandate with no legislative process involvement whatsoever. He has decreed Thursday of last week that employers of 100 employees or more must now require all employees to be vaccinated. This is apparently something he's decided to do under the auspices of OSHA, the federal agency created by Congress to deal with workplace safety. And I didn't believe it. I heard about it. People were emailing me, texting me, messaging me, telling me old Joe had done it. And I was like, no, no. Sleepy Joe's, not the most confident human being, but he doesn't actively hate himself. He's just kind of bad at life. And boy, he did it. Yeah, he did it. There is, to my mind, there is no way. And I'll say that, listen, many of you were angry at me when I said, yeah, private employers can require vaccines. That is certainly within their purview. That is certainly their right. It's their business. If you don't like how they run their business, don't work for them, right? And many of you, well, you were furious with me. And guess what? That's still my answer. It is. It's just their business. They can do what they want. This is different. OSHA's powers were created by statute, written out fairly clearly. I don't think there's any legitimate argument that can be made that this is within OSHA's powers. It's very similar to the CDC issuing an eviction moratorium. Nobody asked you. Nobody gave you that power. That's not a thing. And when you go to the press secretary, Ms. Psaki, and you say, well, don't you think that's illegal? Her response, and I'm paraphrasing, is basically like, maybe. But by the time you get it through court, bet you we get what we want already. And she's not wrong, right? And credit to her. That's got to be a tough job. It's got to be a tough job being the face of this administration. I think, looking at the track records of President Trump and President Biden here, maybe it's time we try something besides an old white man. It's not been going well, people. It's just not been going well. There's not going to be much of a country left. I mean, he already got Afghanistan, right? Those poor people. There's just not going to be much left if we keep putting these fellas in power. Yeah, but back to the topic at hand. Yeah, so not at all legal, not at all enforceable. If you want to fight this as an employee or an employer, we've heard from both, you can. You are on, in my opinion, sound legal footing. And that is something that I've always, I've been very careful with. I don't believe if you're fighting a private employer for a private job who has a mandate for vaccines just for their workforce, I don't think you have a valid case. If you are dealing with the New York State governor's mandate, where I think there's a racial disparate impact because you're really targeting, in a lot of those entertainment venues, you're targeting people of color who also, frankly, because they know their history, are the same people in New York State and New York City who are not vaccinated. Yeah, I think there's a claim there. I think if you lost your job in that situation, I think you may have a claim. And sidebar on that one, when you go to a restaurant in New York City, pretty much everybody I've talked to agrees, and I certainly have gone out in New York City, and nobody Nobody ever asked me for a vaccine card. The only place I was asked for a vaccine card was the movie theater. But pretty much everyone I've spoken to, because I'm mostly up here in New Hampshire, everybody in New York City going out agrees. Generally, it's primarily African American men being asked for their vaccine card. Because in New York City, that is viewed to be the people who are not vaccinated in that city. Again, I don't blame them. It's not like the U.S. government's repeatedly tried to murder them with vaccines. It's almost like they're being rational, right? So I think there's a lot of disparate enforcement, disparate impact with the New York State mandate, and Biden just didn't. I mean, he just thinks he's the king now, and he can just issue edicts to agencies that don't actually have powers to do the things he wants them to do, and see how long he can get away with it before lawyers and the courts rein him in, I guess. So yeah, you can fight now. You can fight. I think now there are legitimate claims to be made. I would argue under President Biden's mandate, you don't need a religious exemption. You don't need a medical exemption. You can just say, no, it's my body, right? And very similar to how I feel a woman can say, it's my body, you fucking moron. I'll do what I like. Thank you very much. No one asked you, right? The same logic certainly applies to President Biden's mandate here. Yeah, it's our body, right? Like, if someone doesn't want to be vaccinated, guess what? That's that person's call. And they can fight it out with their employer because their employer's got a business and maybe the employer wants to do something. And I think I was trying to figure out why he did this because it makes so little sense. At first, I thought he did it because he was trying to get attention off Afghanistan, right? Certainly, Afghanistan has been a regime-defining debacle, right? And I thought he was like, oh, let's get some little attention off that. And I think that might have been part of it. But I think a lot of unions were extracting big advantages in negotiations over vaccine mandates with private employers. And I think private employers who, I would argue have bought and paid for President Biden, big business, certainly he is a creature of the banks of the Fortune 500. He's their little goblin. Yeah, they probably were tired of unions playing hardball. They were probably tired of looking like the bad guys, and they just wanted their little president to do their bidding for them. And I think that's probably where this came from. And what I'll do is link a video kind of touching on how many of the labor unions have come out opposing this. And I'll be honest, in New York City and New York State, many of the unions have had massive successes, including the MTA, Metro North, the Long Island Railroad. Like, those unions have done work in terms of getting concessions for their constituency tied to these vaccine mandates. And that's great to see. I really get so excited. I've spoken to a couple of those people from those unions who are doing that, who are making those calls and making those negotiations and fighting it out and doing their research and calling up attorneys like myself. And what they were doing is what unions are made to do. It's what the unions did back in the day when being too mouthy at work as an employee got you thrown in the river with cement shoes, right? This was old style unioning. It was impressive to watch. And I gotta tell you, I really respect it. I really do. But now with this mandate, the president's taking it out of the hands of organized labor, right? He swore he'd do them right. Well, here we are, right? So, yes, we will bring cases for individuals who are going to lose their job or have lost their job as a result of President Biden's mandate. Now, caveat. Those cases are going to be incredibly expensive for us to bring. We are going to have to charge you. Right? I wouldn't bring the case before because I didn't feel right charging you if I didn't believe I could win. Among other considerations, like ethically, I wouldn't take a case that couldn't win. Right? It'd be frivolous. Here, I wholly believe those cases can win. They're just going to be wildly expensive. And yeah, you can hire us. There's going to be a retainer involved. And I'm happy to have that conversation with you. It's not going to be cheap. These are going to be big, sweeping fights. And we'll group as many together as we can, to lessen the burden on the individual. But it's not going to be easy. This is going to be an uphill battle. It's never easy taking the fight to power. It's never easy speaking truth to power. It's never easy fighting uphill. And that is what the situation requires. So, good news, bad news. But good news is we're in the fight. Like and subscribe. Helps me to help more people just like you. Question, comment down below. You can tell me how stupid I am for supporting people who want to fight a vaccine mandate. You can tell me how safe and effective vaccines are. I believe they are safe and effective. I also believe human beings have a choice to determine what goes in their body. So, yeah, comments down below. I'll engage. I'll track the comments. I'm here for it. Good luck, everybody. Stay safe out there. World's gone mad.